Yoshishige recovered from his recent loss to the Miyoshi, smuggling a small army commanded by his son from Kyushu and arming many of the locals of Shikoku. He wiped out the force pursuing him. Sugatsura was still making progress, winning a decisive battle in the northwest of the island. But the territory taken already was beset by rebellion. The Buddhists here were not going to tolerate the long vilified Nanban religion. Soon, with help from Yoshishige, they were dead. He marched east to resume his plans, while Sugatsura's plans were derailed by a chaotic battle in the middle of the night that forced him to retreat. On consideration, I have decided to grant his request. Lord Yoshishige has taken it upon himself to arrange outside help. I see no reason why his brother cannot do the same. That was not Lord Yoshiaki's wish. You say that with confidence. Tell me then, given what a strange situation we find ourselves in, what exactly was his wish? He wanted to show the strength of the Otomo family. Is that so? Well, to speak liberally, it is the case that his family was nearly stripped of its leading man. This show of strength is becoming an embarrassment, and that's not at all what we need right now. The rebels can't possibly stop us. Why care what they think? The rebels? I'm not worried about them. See here, Lord Yoshiaki made me the referee of this contest because he knew that I shared his opinion on the Nanban. You won't even see eye to eye with them. No, and that is precisely my point. This show was about capturing sea lanes, about preparing the next generation not for the current war, but for the war to come. And it handily allowed us to see most troops who may be more loyal to the Nanban than us removed from the picture. What are you saying? I'm saying that the rules don't matter. The point has been made. All that matters now is a quick victory and then a difficult decision. Hello there, welcome back to Barbarian Masters. We're starting things off with a strange event. During a routine capture of some castle on the front line, we actually complete the game. This means we've now completed our victory objective, which I think was to take 100 provinces. Now, because our business isn't really concluded, we're not going to finish the campaign here, of course. This just means that we're beyond the point of no return. The enemy can't possibly defeat us because we've become so strong. But for the purposes of this narrative, we're still going to have to stamp out their dregs of resistance that are still carrying on, because the other factions don't actually stop fighting you after you win. It's just an opportunity to quit the game and say you've done it. My plan on the front line in general is to take the Takeda province, the home province of Kai, just to put them out of their misery, and also to take Masashi to the east, which is where Edo is. Not that Edo is actually very relevant in this time period, but just because Masashi has rivers on its eastern border, so it's a very nice front line that will even things out and leave us very steadfast. Now, the Miyoshi send a small army to attack Yoshishige. His army isn't in good condition, meaning they actually have significant presence on the balance bar, despite not having that much in the way of numbers. They've also got lots of cavalry who aren't very useful for a siege assault, so victory seemed like it would be easy. They do have mangonels though, and those are a bit of a threat. They immediately take out a tower as the battle starts. All I need to do is use my one unit of katana key retainers to go and take them down, but took a while to get over there. A nice thing about sending cavalry out in a siege battle as well is that it breaks the AI. They send lots of units to chase that cavalry unit rather than attacking the castle. They did get another volley off with these mangonels, and in this case I was the victim myself of the classic Shogun 2 weird physics, losing a whole load of archers there. That's a shame, but still not enough to put our defences out of action. Soon the mangonels are gone, and the enemy's infantry come into the castle, and we're going to do the usual strategy of just making them stop. We'll use Yari walls to not only get pretty good melee engagements, but to delay the enemy so our archers can kill absolutely loads of them. Soon most of their infantry are gone. Their cavalry would usually at this point dismount and try to join the infantry attack, but for whatever reason they didn't in this battle. They just stood there outside the castle. I started firing arrows at them, and even then they were so committed to holding their ground that they didn't move backwards either, so eventually many of those guys were defeated. The battle ends, we took negligible losses, and that's another Miyoshi army wiped out. Hopefully that will buy us some chances to advance and take another castle. First though, looks like the rebels are at it again, the actual rebels I'm referring to, the faction of rebels, because the Miyoshi have been using their monks to stir up more angry Buddhists and they're attacking behind our lines now. We've got a substantial garrison and a few units in there, so we have plenty of hope for the defence. All we need to do is the same thing in the last battle really, just stand around near the centre of the castle using our archers to kill enemies as they work their way towards us, and once they get too close we'll just block them and then see how much more damage we can do. You can see I'm doing that right here. We also have matchlock towers helping us out, and the long climbs that these units are making also whittle them down. The balance bar starts looking quite a lot better even just as the battle starts. I think we are once again going to foil this Buddhist uprising.
What's happening out there? The mountain folk are attacking again! Alert the samurai. Tell everyone you can to get to the castle. Even without Lord Yoshishige, we can defeat them there. But they'll ransack the church if we leave it. Those hillmen still say God can't be trusted. You think they're wrong? Of course! God guides us all. How can we not trust him? God, this being, is of the Nanban. I don't know what powers he has, but his followers are on course to conquer the entire world. Why was it not us he gave that power to? I know not. No, nobody can or will answer that, nor shall I. There is a spear on the wall in the next room. Take it and make for the castle. What about you? I don't want to see what happens after all this. I will stay here and find my own peace.
There's the result, in case you happen to care. It doesn't really matter, since all of our losses were on garrison units, they don't count. Yoshishige now needs to advance up, because we might as well go and attack the next Miyoshi settlement, which is also the last one I believe. I've already spied it out using a boat, I can see they don't have anything guarding it. I think all of the Miyoshi armies that we've taken down very steadily have drained the Miyoshi's military resources, and they haven't really rebuilt them in time. So now we should have a chance to go on the offensive. Meanwhile, I'm just showing this as an example of what the Takeda are up to. They're just getting ambushed over and over again on the same spot every time they try to counterattack, so not much happening there. Now Uno takes a few men to go and finish off the rebels who survived the previous battle, so that makes things a bit nicer there. But still another rebellion is happening because that monk has been very busy and very lucky, I presume. Another massive stack of Ashigaru against our garrison. This is another fight that's similar to the last one. We're going to do the same tactics. I couldn't really be bothered to fight it, but I had to, otherwise we would lose. And similarly, I couldn't be bothered to show it in this series, so I hope you'll take my word for it that we just stood around inside the castle, the enemy attacked, and it didn't work, so we kept the castle. Now Yoshishige is going on the offensive some more. This time I had to fight the Sogo, who had moved over, presumably to counterattack us. In this case I'm just going to use a night attack to auto-resolve against them, because their army was quite small and I thought we'll probably destroy them, but the balance bar wasn't lying in this case. We didn't have that much of an advantage, so while we won, we still had to fall back to get our troops back together, meaning we haven't made any progress this turn as a result of all that, so maybe the Sogo have achieved something, buying some time for the Miyoshi. Uno took some men to go finish off the rebels from that battle I didn't show just there, so now we're rebel free once again. Or are we? No, of course we're not, because the rebels spawned in the next turn as well. I'm going to move Uno back to command the garrison of the place they're most likely to attack. I've also now recruited a geisha on the island who can go over and finally go after the monk. So he's dead at long last. Maybe this will mean an end to the rebellions, but there are lots of other monks on the island who I've seen wandering around. As for the rebels, I didn't want to wait for the defense. I just gathered up everything I could and took a not very good auto-resolve so that I would win, at least ever so slightly, meaning they're now damaged and probably won't be able to take a castle. They won't be able to out-auto-resolve a garrison at full strength. Sugatsura's been doing nothing this whole time because I've been slowly gathering up some reinforcements for him to slightly change his army composition and make it bigger so that he has more luck, since he can't really advance in his current state. Yoshishige can, though. We can go after the survivors from the Sogo now that we've replenished. They will have replenished a bit as well, so really it's kind of the same battle as before, but I think we're a bit stronger. We do have the option to allow the Miyoshi to take part in the fight as well, but there's really no point, even though we would kill them. I think the garrison in the castle is big enough that killing units inside the castle isn't helpful. They'll just be replaced with new garrison units. So we might as well make a night attack there, as we do, so we get rid of the Sogo, and now we'll just besiege the castle, although that proved to be more difficult than expected, because for some reason I couldn't do it. I think maybe I was in the zone of control of that one unit, or the zone of control of the guys I just killed didn't despawn or something. After a bit of hassle, I eventually discovered we could start the siege by getting Kurashige, Yoshishige's son, to move out and start a siege on his own. That then allowed my army to move so we can stack up in the siege camp, and there we go, we've got the siege we were looking for. As for what we're actually attacking here, it is a decent force. We've got a small advantage on the balance bar, but not enough to go for an easy siege assault, and handily enough they did sally out against us, so we'll get the much easier to deal with field battle instead. We just put the army on a nice hill and got the guns ready to start softening the enemy up. I'm going to try and prioritise firing at samurai units, since it is a bit of a waste of time to blow up the Ashigaru. We'll just kill them later on. Once they got close, it became clear they had a pretty substantial skirmishing force leading their army. They've got, to start with, a couple of samurai gunner units who actually came into range of my archers before firing. They do outrange archers, but maybe my archers were getting a range buff from being on a hill. I'm not sure if that actually happens in Shogun 2. It did in the older games. But on top of the gunners, they have a whole load of regular archers themselves who are going to join the fight, and it quickly became clear that we wouldn't be able to win a skirmish. We lost half our men in some cases on those frontline archers, so I had to charge down and not use my hill advantage. The enemy has very effectively forced me off the hill. Pretty good from them. My front line is mostly Yari Ashigaru, nothing particularly special. We're just going to hope for the best with this charge. Their gunners are going to shoot some of us down on the way in, but they can't get enough damage for it to really matter, especially against a big Ashigaru unit. So let's go into the fight. One problem though, as you can see, the enemy do have firebomb throwers, and there we lose half the men in that unit instantly to just a single enemy volley. I'm trying to get my men into Yari Wall formation. It's always a bit awkward to do an attack with Yari Wall because the unit slows down and the formations mess up a bit, but if you can get it to work, it's much more effective than a normal attack with Yari Ashigaru because they're just so powerful in this formation. They can easily take on samurai units. On the right, our attack's been slowed down so much by the Yaru and the hill that nothing's happening at all. I'm actually going to break formation there to get things going a bit faster. And on the left, I've got a tiny bit of leeway to make some flank attacks here. We'll go after those enemy cavalry who are suiciding onto our spearmen. I think the enemy general's going to suicide soon as well, which will help us out. And their firebomb throwers are just going to attack the melee. Hopefully they'll be hitting their own side as well. Might have seen there's actually the blood screen effect going on, which normally I have turned off. Whoever made the mod that turns it off deleted the mod for some reason, and I couldn't see a replacement easy to hand, so we're going to have to tolerate there being annoying things blocking the screen sometimes now. As for the fight, we just happened to win. There was no fancy tactics here. I suppose we had them slightly outflanked at either end of the line, but they just routed before that had much effect. We managed to push through with the sheer power of Yari Ashigaru in Yari Wall, and I suppose we were buffed up by our general being so high level as well, so that probably helped out. A decisive victory, just what we need. We did take some substantial losses. Some units took a real beating, but no actual units lost, and the Miyoshi as a clan are now defeated. We'll take the castle, and Ashigaru units replenish super fast, so all the losses will likely be gone very soon. All well and good. Now just had to do a quick naval battle when the Honma sallied against the blockade I'd put on our island in order to prevent them from constantly invading us by sea, and we want that arrangement to continue, so it's time to break out the Nanban trade ship and take down all of these Kaboyas. Before God and Shogun you all bow. To him and me there are no peasants and no samurai, only subjects loyal and disloyal. The former will live as their rightful masters ordain. The latter too, albeit their masters may be simple folk from far-off lands who practice cruelty over wisdom. It was their choice to resist, and their foolish decision will be counted against them when the end comes. Do not shed tears for the lost, for if they were worthy of such sorrow at their absence, then the Lord will grant them eternal life aside the shores of a calm sea in the company of their ancestors. Should he withhold them such peace, then truly, so truly, they were not people we should miss. It will be easy, you will see, to live beneath one God, one heaven, one leader, that which knows all of life and death, and cannot be wrong in judgment. This is where the struggle of the Miyoshi ends, and the service of the loyal people of Japan to their creator, all as one, begins. Now let us pray. Things went smoothly, but we see there, just for a split second, there is actually already a Honma fleet carrying an army somewhere off to the west, so we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Uno finally finishes off the rebels. We auto-resolved them during the end turn sequence because they attacked, and then another one just there gets rid of them. So now we can get to repairing the damage they've done, and hopefully things will now be stable. After an uneventful turn, we're now into the next turn where it's winter, and I didn't really want to go on the offensive because of the reduced movement range and the threat of attrition. So I'm going to leave Yoshishige where he is for now and just build up his force further. As for Sugatsura, it looks like we're going to have to be on the defensive. The Ito Utsunomiya are coming at us with 2 stacks here. In order to make things better for us, I'm going to be looking to make an ambush. I was checking here to see if they know that I'm doing an ambush now, and they do. But usually you can just do that, just move slightly to the side, and that counts as a new ambush, so you're now hidden again. In this case though, it didn't work. I guess they could still see us because they come in for a normal field battle. With their 2 stacks, they do have quite the advantage there, but their first army at least didn't look very powerful, so I thought we can probably rout a decent portion of that and just not fight it. So even while we could retreat from this and look for a better engagement, I think this is good enough. We're going to fight this one and try to just end it here. The central point of our plan will be that the enemy's first army won't wait for their reinforcements because we have cannons in our army. The AI will be scripted to attack without waiting, meaning we can take on all of these Ashigaru first and try to get them out of the picture before the more powerful second army comes into play. We can start off by blowing half of them up on the way in, so that'll give us a little bit of an advantage, but as I said, attacking Ashigaru with cannons doesn't make much difference because the proportion of the unit you're killing isn't all that large. Our skirmishing line isn't particularly powerful, just a few gunners and some archers, so we're not going to be doing much damage as the enemy come in, or routing units as we sometimes see. We'll just have to take their charge, and our idea here will be that we have so many samurai versus their Ashigaru that hopefully we can just run over them, just charge in, kill half of them with the charge, and then in the ensuing melees we'll just win real fast and hope the enemy rout. Some of their cavalry came around to attack on our right. I countered with my anti-cav-cav, and the exact same thing happened on the left, and in both cases it's officers as well, so some nice kills to be getting there. That's that all sealed up. As for the battle in the centre, we are still quite outnumbered, even fighting only one of the armies, just because they have Ashigaru units which are much bigger than samurai units. So it is a mess, and our men are being quite easily surrounded. We're just now going to hope that in these fights we'll win, and that the enemy will give up much faster than we will. We do have lots of gaps in the line, and some very bad micro here on the right, where I somehow ended up with all my archers standing on top of each other, so not an ideal setup, and one of the gaps proves to be particularly annoying because some enemy cavalry come right through it, attacking my gunners and driving them away from the fight. We'll just keep running because it's probably better than standing and fighting there, and we'll wait for some of our own cav to go support. As for the fight, things did go well. You can see enemies routing all over the place. These enemy samurai archers were going to be attacked by our conqueror hero, our Nanban mounted gunners, but the Japanese want to show them how it's done. Apparently they just charge right on in and that does rout them, so that worked much faster. The plan has been successful overall. We've defeated the first army, now we just need to form up. We defeated the cav that were behind us as well with our own cav. And now yes, prepare for this second army which is making its approach, and of course like the first army being bombarded, and this time we can shoot Onobushi and samurai units doing lots of very important damage at a distance. Things didn't turn out as I expected, and now Lord Uno doesn't seem to care much for Father's legacy anymore. Why are you complaining? He's helping you out. Yes, in some ways, but he's letting Yoshishige claw his way back. The people are on his side thanks to his corrupting of the church. They sympathize with his defeats when they should be mocking him. You'll have to take care of the mocking then. You know I can't. I don't know why I tell you anything. Are you really on my side here? Probably. That the best I can get out of you? I don't really want to take up sides, you know. I think I might just go become a priest or something. Get out of this family's cold shadow. If that's your deepest desire, then you'd better hope I win. Yoshishige's church is nothing but an imitation meant to keep people under control. You sure of that? I'm not going to explain it to you. Just another reason why I have to silence him. Well, now I know I'm staying out of it. Now it's time for the quick second part of this battle. The enemy run in, and because we have very little in the way of skirmishing still, we're just going to run back out at them and see what we can do. Hope the samurai can chop their way through these Ashigaru. As for the enemy samurai, that may be more difficult, but we'll do our best. And because we have an army advantage at this stage, we'll have a morale advantage. We don't have to kill many enemies in order to get them to rout, is what I'm saying. And we immediately see Ashigaru units just getting out of there, and once they run, the samurai are then so outnumbered that they run as well. So I said it would be quick. We really didn't fight that second army at all. They just left once the battle started. I chased them down for a bit to get some more kills, and here's the eventual result, a heroic victory. Over 3,000 enemies killed, around 500 lost on our side, but we are also in our own territory, so we'll replenish and make that number lower now. We will need to go forward and kill some survivors to really hammer home what we've done here. It is still winter, so we don't necessarily want to go full on advancing because it'll take us a couple of turns to get to the enemy's castle, and we'll lose a load of men along the way, but this is a good start. Army number 1 is taken down using a night attack to avoid fighting the survivors from army number 2, so it's nice and easy. And where we end up standing after that auto-resolve just happens to be in our territory, just about. Didn't really like it, but it is, so if we just stay there, we can replenish, and then in the future we'll continue our advance on that front. Now I did manage to find that Honma fleet carrying an invasion force our way. That was pretty lucky, just happened to see it while sailing around, and I ended up even taking it down. I had to put my ships in an attrition zone to do it, but worth it because the damage is pretty cheap to repair, so that's going to avoid some hassle, no doubt. Now for Yoshishige, I'm going to try and ambush the forces of the Awaji from Awaji Island over to the east. First I put his big army in a hidden position, then I put a smaller army out in the open, hoping that the AI will want to go and fight it, and now they'll make the crossing to come over to Shikoku and get ambushed. Hopefully I need to move this ship as well so the zone of control doesn't block the crossing. We'll see what happens there. Now we've made it into spring, so time to actually go on this offensive with Sugatsura then. We push back some Ito Utsunomiya forces who've regrouped in front of us. Looks like they've recruited some more stuff as well. And I eventually, when trying to fight them, found I could only fight them with my smaller army. The bigger army was blocked by the very narrow passageway here, so I'm forced to do the battle like this, sending in the small one and then bringing in the larger one as reinforcements. It's not quite enough of a good balance bar for us to go in and auto-resolve it, and we do need this to go well since we want to go on right into another fight with the garrison of their castle after this. So, ended up fighting it, as you can see. Because we're the attacker, we have all the time in the world to gather up our army, so here it is, we're on a hill, the enemy are on a hill as well. However, we of course have our big guns, so the enemy's hill isn't going to do them much good. We just have to wait a very long time for them to come through the woods and get into into position, and then we'll start shooting at them. As you can see, our men are using force powers to help turn the wheel, so that's impressive. It's not speeding it up very much though, still taking quite a while. Eventually, they move up and get behind our lines. We unlimber them, and even before we start firing the AI advanced, they are hard scripted to react to being in range of things, so they just immediately start wandering towards us, and we'll give them a few shots, taking them off their nice forested hill and into the open ground in front of our forested hill. The very first volley drops down into this officer's unit, killing the officer, although it wasn't their commander. That's still a very good opening volley. Here we are a bit later. They've walked across the map towards us. Now they're starting to run as they get close. These shots have already done tons of damage to them, and now our regular skirmishing can begin. We've got gunners and archers, and quite a few this time, because the support army that was following Sugusura had lots of ranged units, so now his skirmishing component is more filled out than it was in the previous fight. Didn't get many shots before the men started skirmishing away, because the enemy are just charging right at us. Now we just need to take them down. From the balance bar we can tell that even before things really get started, this shouldn't be too difficult. The bombardment continues blowing up even more enemies as they come in, and now we charge out with our sword samurai to get the work really done. It was a bit of a mess, many of the charges didn't work very well and many of my troops got surrounded, but at least the enemies coming uphill, that removes most of their charging potential. And we do have numbers on our side. We can outflank the enemy on both ends of the line, and here exposed archers just get annihilated by cav. The hardest part of the fight was right here actually, where I sent a couple of units to fight the enemy's Onobushi, and some katana samurai of mine got really heavily damaged because Onobushi are just good at everything, but still the rest of their army didn't fare so well. We can easily outflank any unit we want and just destroy them, and obviously a chain rout is very quickly going to occur in this situation. So that's the battle over. Our cannons drive away those archers who are fighting on at the end. A decisive victory, and a nice easy one. What we expected and what we wanted, and indeed what we got there. They lost something like 5 times the amount that we did. No units lost on our side, so in pretty good condition to go on now and attack their castle. The commander of the reinforcing army here gets an opportunity to be promoted to general, so I thought I might as well take that. Having a general is always handy since they can do replenishment. And now Sugusura will begin his main advance. We can't make it to the castle right now, as you can see, but we can get close enough to it that we can then send just the cavalry out to get to the castle. Having this place under siege now will just prevent them from recruiting anything, so even if nothing happens because of this, that's better than waiting one turn and then besieging them next time. So we'll leave them to it. On the front line, I was able to complete my objective in Musashi. Here's Kobyukawa taking Edo Castle. I used a ninja to sabotage the nearby Takeda army to make it easy. There's him leveling up. So there we have it. We've reached my new goal front line. There's Edo Castle, need to repair it up. Gives you a gigantic garrison, and if we happen to get attacked there, I will take a look at that to see if it has a unique map. But anyway, I'm not sure exactly what my end game is here on the front line. We have won the war eventually, and we could auto-resolve right to the end of Japan, but I don't think I'll bother going much further than where we are now. Finally, on Shikoku, Yoshishige's plan to get an ambush here doesn't really work. The Atagi clan from Owaji comes over with an army that's mostly just drafted Ashigaru, and somehow we don't have a massive advantage on that balance bar, given our force is way better. Would have expected that. Looks like we'll have to start off next time by slaughtering these guys. The ultimate failure of the anti-Otomo coalition was inescapable and damning. Tens of thousands of men had been thrown into unwinnable battles, and those that survived only fed the Otomos' foreign trade in slaves. More would still join the fight, hoping to see their loved ones avenged or returned. But even they knew that this was only symbolic resistance at this point. The only way to defy the Otomo now was to disappear and deny them the benefit of taxing your labour. Death in battle was an apt way to do this for many. Far away, in halls cleaned by Japanese children, the Europeans planned an expedition to enter further relations with the new Japanese order, this time seeking not converts, but prophets. That is it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and special thanks to the Officially Devin patrons. We'll try to finish up our objectives on the front lines and on Shikoku, and then it might be time to bring this whole thing to a close, either in the next episode or the one after that, coming soon on Barbarian Masters.